some time to talk about that? Okay. So, what I would love to do now, you guys must have some really great ideas because we're talking. I really like that. So I'd love to hear what the transitions were that you guys identified and what were the ideas you came up with for teaching children each of those steps that you identified. Was there anyone that identified some really, really great new ideas for teaching those steps and they want to share? Well, let's start with this. What was your transition?
Washing hands.
Washing hands. And what were the steps that you identified? I'm putting you on the spot here. Anyone can jump in.
I was talking about how we're 2-year-olds and how it's so much more difficult to get them to kind of settle down and wait their turn while we're washing our hands together. So we're just finding areas like carpet squares,
Special activities.
special activities so that they can stay involved with while they're waiting to wash their hands. I mean, teachers kind of one with the group, one with calling names. It's just kind of crazy. So that's a good idea. Like to find little activities.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. How about you, ladies? What was your transition?
Well, so one thing we were just talking about, and then actually I want to ask a question that might be a little off the topic, but
That is okay.
the one thing that we were just talking about was support for like dual language learners and the need for visuals. And then what Michelle was just asking was maybe if it would be helpful to have that phrase in Spanish on a visual. And what we were just about to say was, I think even if you don't speak that language, it can be helpful to try to find someone who could translate a few pat phrases for you in that language. And one of them could be around like a consistent direction that you might give a child and clarify what they understand.
And I translate works
Yeah.
so well.
Oh yeah, and for things like that. So if you can have a few phrases in the day, it's not by any means that you have to attempt throughout the day to speak that child's language. But if you could find a few key phrases that might help you throughout the day, because one of the things we were talking about was when you have a situation like that and the child's maybe not following the routine, one of the things you really need to make sure is, and she was saying to me, I'm not sure if he understands, I think he might. Take that off the table. Have a pat phrase in their language that you can use or a visual, and then you know for sure if they do it, the problem was they didn't understand you. If they don't do it, the problem is not that they didn't understand you, it's something else. And then you've got to maybe teach that phrase, but then that way you know how to respond to it.
So a little trial and error there.
Yeah.
So it might not be that the child isn't listening or doesn't want to listen. You just might not be reaching them on a way that they're able to communicate with.
Right.
I think that's definitely a great thing to remember.
We talked about maybe like just a visual chart, like a picture of him, the child that doesn't want to put something where, just doesn't understand, maybe putting something there and showing it to him.
Yep, exactly. And I know I've said this a bunch of times today, but if it can actually be that child, I'm sure, I can't speak for all children, but I'm sure so many children would, wow, I'm the example. I'm special. I want to keep doing that. I want to model that behavior because it's been shown to that child that that was a special behavior and they were rewarded by having that visual. Awesome, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so then I have a question to people. So I'm assuming everybody in here works with a co-teacher, colleagues? Okay. So, and typically in classroom settings, there's someone who has the role of lead teacher and someone who has the role of assistant teacher. I would hope in most cases roles are kind of seen equally. And in my experience, something that I'm finding now is I'm getting a lot of feedback, and Michelle, if you want to share anything that we just kind of talked about, but where a lot of times folks in the role of assistant teacher may recognize the need for some discussion and brainstorming around maybe a transition where they're seeing some problem behaviors, and maybe they approach their co-teacher with some ideas or just the idea that, hey, we need to sit down and brainstorm, and they're kind of just shut down. And I'm wondering,
Do you want me to share?
yeah, do you want to
Share
because she works with two
I'm
different
an
teachers,
assistant
one in the
teacher.
morning and one in the afternoon.
And I work with 3-year-olds in the morning and 4-year-olds in the afternoon. I work with 2 different teachers. My boss is the lead teacher in the morning, and I work with a coworker who's a lead teacher in the afternoon, two separate teachers, separate teaching styles, and one, like, she's really good about giving the 5 minutes. She'll turn the lights off, sing a five minutes to clean up, you know, a little song, and then she does the lights off again. It's cleanup time in the preschool room. She gives them that like good transition time. The other one who doesn't turn the lights off, doesn't sing the 5-minute warning, doesn't even really sometimes even give a warning. It's really abrupt. And then when she sings the cleanup song, it's like, it's cleanup time in the preschool room, blah, blah, blah. It goes really fast, and in the morning the other teacher's like, really slow, it's cleanup time. It's really slow. So I feel like she gives them much transition warning, and I've approached her about it, but you know, she just.
So she should come to peer review.
So yeah.
Hearing my
Well, and I get that feedback from a lot of our assistant teachers that they've, you know, attempted to share or brainstorm with the lead teacher and they kind of get shut down. So I'm wondering if people, and I'm attempting to kind of put some things in place where there can be more of a collaborative relationship there between those teachers, but I'm wondering if anybody has some things that have worked well for you, if you have a situation like that that you can share. Because I think that that's an issue a lot of the time is you see these problems and you're not on the same page. And especially you might be here, I think that was our challenge we got off Target because she felt like she's not the lead teacher and these are the things that I would put in place, but she's brought that to the lead teacher and been kind of shut down.
Does anyone who might have been in that similar situation, does anyone have any good strategies that they might have used? Right?
I've never been in that situation, but maybe one thing that you can do is maybe discuss, like, hey, with the teacher who does the transitions well, like, hey, maybe,
That's my boss.
yeah, okay, so she does them well. So maybe you could ask her if she could, you know, come into the other room and observe and just, then maybe she can talk to her.
She has observed. She's not so happy about the fact that there's not enough transition because she feels like,
Right.
you know, preschoolers really need that transition time, and she's big on that. But yet she can't really change Shelley, I mean, the teacher that I work with is.
Right.
I shouldn't say her name, but anyway, she can't really change her teaching style.
Call
So-
Mary.
I was gonna say, 'cause maybe like if your boss gave her ideas, it would give her like, oh, you know, maybe that's a good idea.
Right, and I'm not
Maybe-
sure if she's maybe pulled her aside to talk to her, like on the side, because she came in to sub and observe, actually, just to observe
Right.
our afternoon class, just to kind of see what was going on.
Are the kids in the afternoon class, are they the ones who transition well or not? So has she ever seen your boss? Like, has she ever observed her class?
She has, but she's made sure that I know, and that, like, she's made it very clear that the teacher in the morning and herself are have very different teaching styles. One is more structured, the morning one, versus unstructured in the afternoon. One likes structured art in the morning, one likes unstructured art in the afternoon. So I'm planning for like 2 different classes, 2 different teaching styles all the time.
So she's
So,
not budgeting.
and I'm the messy art planner. So.
Would it be fair, oh, I'm sorry, would it be fair to maybe suggest that you just try it for a week, just to change it, and just say, like, I understand that this is your teaching style, but maybe you could try something else for a week just to see how it goes, and then revisit it at the end of the week to see if,
I think that compromise
That
technique
would be
could be
great,
a great
yeah. And
strategy.
I've done it
You
when
know,
she's gone. Like, I'm the lead teacher when we have a sub, pretty much. So I do it when she's gone.
But you know, if you ask for that compromise piece, you know, meet me halfway here. You know, you're a teacher in that room too. You know, meet me halfway here. Let's try it for a couple days. And if it doesn't work at all, okay, we tried it. But you know, meet me halfway here.
Right.
So there's, you know, a mutual level of respect.
She's kind of stubborn and resistant to change too, though. So
Which definitely, of course, makes it hard. That must be really hard for
it
you
is kind of hard.
to have 2 totally
Bit of a
different
challenge,
teachers.
for
That must be
sure.
tough.
I was just gonna say, so like, so Ashley is off on Mondays, and some frequently, either myself or my co-teacher will go into Ashley's room, and like, you know, I'll say to her co-teacher, I'm like, do you mind if I sing this song? You know, it's like, we're totally different teaching styles, but I feel like that 2 different teaching styles is really beneficial, but that's why we have different personalities in classrooms, because kids benefit from that. And she'd be like, hey, I have this song, do you mind if I sing it? Like, I am that way, that's my personality, but I approach it like, hey, would you mind if I did this? And you'll either get a yes or no, and that's, you have to preface by saying that, but it's been, like, we communicate, and she, or Heidi, the co-teacher in there, is like, yeah, I don't mind, and it's like, I went with it, and it's effective in there, so, and that's a classroom that there's a lot of different children in there that have difficulty with transitions, and it works. But I know that they don't use it on the other days.
That could be, yeah, another great strategy.
You
You
can
know,
just
if you said to that
ask.
teacher, hey, would it be okay if I did this? I can't imagine, although I could be wrong, that that teacher would say, no, you can't do that.
Right.
You know, I would hope that they wouldn't say that.
I don't know, she's kind of different, it's like, it's her way over the highway sometimes. It just depends, she'll tell me sometimes, like, no, we're not doing that, or I'll give her like suggestions, and she's like, no, we're doing it this way.
Jen, did you have another thought?
Yeah, is it possible, because I know, like, we have some school-wide philosophies about how we interact with the kids and our coworkers, and would it be possible for your director to, in a staff meeting, talk about a school-wide philosophy and?
That's totally possible, we do like an hour and a half to go out on Mondays, all, as a group, all the
So then
preschoolers.
it's not like directed at her where she feels singled out about what she's doing, but hey, we want to encompass this in our entire school.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good
I
thing.
agree, I think that, because it's, what you're talking about is not your specific idea about the way you want to see things in the classroom. It is an evidence-based practice
It's also
that
my
I would
director's
think,
expectations, I mean, my boss is in the morning, she's the lead
yeah,
teacher.
I would
It's
hope
kind of
that
her
that would become a
expectation.
school-wide approach, because it's like you said early on, all of this is evidence-based. So it's best practice, it's not a practice.
Right.
We know it works and we know why, so, yeah, I bring that argument that
Yeah, I think that could
this
be
is
hearing it
why.
from another voice, you know, another person.
Well, thank you guys, it's always good to hear good strategies.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing that. I think that's,
Thank you, I'm sorry, I got so
no, that's okay,
But I
that's
think
okay.
I look at these sometimes, and then I get feedback from teachers that they wanna try to implement something, but their co-teacher's like, no, I'm like, so we gotta work that out, but
Yeah.
yeah, that can be a challenge when you're not on the same page with this philosophy.
Could definitely be a challenge. Awesome, so good discussion, guys. That was really good. So next we're gonna move on to talking a little bit about involving families, just in this one quick slide right here. And I think this really depends on the teacher too. There are so many ways when it comes to transitions and rules and expectations that you can involve families. You know, you could have a parent training where you train your parents and you help them to understand what you're doing in the classroom so they can try to do that at home. You can have what they call parent rollout parties where you pick one rule or one expectation and you roll it out to the parents and you roll it out to the kids in the classroom. But again, you know, the goal is that you're working on the same things. So, you know, many years ago, there was this thought of punishment, and there were some classroom management systems where they used the loss of activities or, you know, the loss of, you know, fun practices, fun things that they do in the classroom due to, you know, because of punishment. Children would do something bad. So we've really, you know, evidence shows us that it is so much more powerful in classrooms if you can get away from that punishment and get to that place of being positive with children. You know, reinforcing positive behavior. We're going to talk in the next few slides about something called reframing, and we're actually going to do a few practice examples of taking a system of what could have been a punishment system, and let's reframe that and let's turn that into a system of prevention. Let's take it away from the negative and let's turn it into the positive. So this is the first example, and I'm going to read it out loud, and as I'm reading, you guys just be thinking about a way that you can reframe this. So in a school with a pirate theme, the teacher has a bulletin board with a ship and a gangplank. If there's a rule violation, the pirate with the student's name on it moves to the gangplank and then moves off the gangplank into shark-infested waters, nonetheless, with subsequent rule violations. How could this teacher reframe this system? What was that?
Did something good.
Yes, exactly. So there's a really easy way to keep that pirate theme. Say that a little louder, Jen. That was really good.
You put, if a child does something that you want to reward them, put their picture up there and they get the treasure chest.
And you can even go so far as to, we're gonna all work together to reach that treasure chest ice cream party. I don't know, I guess it's not very healthy, but apple party. You know, but you know, so children can see that instead of being punished for those negative behaviors, for those rule violations, they're gonna be celebrated for, you know, modeling appropriate behavior. So let's try another one. So in this classroom, the teacher has a tree on the bulletin board, and all the children have an apple with their name on it. It's funny we're talking about apples. When the child has a rule infraction, the apple is moved down the branch until it falls off. How could we reframe this? I know it's a tough.
Go the other way, put their name on the tree when they've done
Bless you.
something that they'll follow directions or whatever, you can call them out. And I noticed you helped your friends clean up the blocks even though you weren't using them. That was a great way to help out, put their name on the tree.
Yeah, let's move you a little bit higher up on the tree. I think that's a great way to do that. I mean, you have these big bulletin boards, these big visual cues, but if it's reinforcing positive behavior, these big visual cues, it's going to have a really, really powerful impact on kids. So another reward system that some schools have used is tickets and tokens, and they use these tickets and token systems to motivate students to follow the rules. Now the problem with this is that, especially working with young children, children might not be ready for this yet. It might not be very efficient with children because they might not understand. So it may be effective with older kids, but it might not be effective with younger kids, and it's something that we want to remember. Children, you know, they can't be expected to understand this tickets and tokens system until they can be expected to have consistent and socially mature behavior. And the young children that we're working with, they're still learning those skills. They're not there yet. So what would be a way that, you know, we could reframe this tickets and tokens system would be, you know, avoiding an element that involves taking away for rule infractions, which sounds so serious when talking about young children. Giving children a chance to learn so that all children, they experience success. Like I said, it's going to be so much more powerful when a child gets to that treasure chest and has an ice cream party or whatever example I used, rather than they fall off the plank and then they're like just feeling really down on themselves. You know, you want to use the opportunity to reward as an opportunity to emphasize the rule and reinforce that appropriate behavior. And I definitely think it also has an impact on other children when you celebrate one children's success. Danny, did you want to add something?
Something that I did in the class that my student taught in is we had a jar that we put marbles in. And it was marbles for the whole class. So then it was everyone was collaborating to work together to earn those marbles as a whole class, instead of it just being for one person. And
Awesome. That is a great
increases
example.
everyone's positive behaviors too.
And that example right there, that's something that you can team up with families. Families can do that at home. It's very simple to go get a jar and a bag of marbles and stuff like that. So they can reinforce that good behavior the exact same way that you're reinforcing it in the classroom. And then it's so much more impactful. Did you want to
We
answer?
had an infant teacher that didn't want to use the marbles, obviously for choking reasons and stuff. So instead
That
they
makes
did
sense.
like a construction paper chain, like where you just make the little rings, kind of like you do at Christmas or whatever. And they hung it from the ceiling, and they would add like a paper chain every time they had a good day, working towards like, you know, pajama day or bring a stuffy on or whatever day, you know, they would come with different options.
I think that's a great example, a great way around. Like you said, if it's not safe, if marbles aren't a good idea, there are a lot of ways to go about it. So then, a few of the major messages from today, from session 9. We talked a lot about prevention strategies and teaching appropriate skills, trying to reduce those challenging behaviors. We talked a lot about giving directions, giving rules and expectations, stating the directions clearly. We talked about teaching them. Planning ahead will make your transitions a lot smoother. If you can think through that, we call it a preventative lens. If you can think through a preventative lens, you can think, okay, what's the challenging behavior? At what step does it occur? How can I prevent that from happening? And it's going to promote those smoother transitions. And then also, promoting children's social and emotional development requires a comprehensive approach, including relationship building, creative supporting environments, and of course, everybody say it with me, teaching. Awesome. So that wraps up session 9. We still have a couple things before you guys head out of here. First, go ahead and take a few minutes to jot down your thought seeds. And does everyone feel like they can leave today with, a few strategies? Yeah, that's my goal. I want you guys to walk away with something that you can implement in your classroom, and it's going to be a big help. So you guys take a couple minutes to jot down your thought seeds, as well as to fill out your evaluations. And then we're going to do a really quick quality improvement, which for everyone that's new, that's unfamiliar with pyramid, we're just going to talk about what went well today and what might need some improvement. So take a few minutes with your thought seeds. Thank you.